Guys, it's Mathel here again, and today I'm going to show off my concept and first real hardcore character for the Pirandus Hardcore League, which I started a couple of days ago. This is the first time I'm really doing hardcore in the past few months, just because last time I remember trying it, it didn't really appeal to me, so I just logged back on softcore and couldn't give a shit. But I decided that I wanted to do some sort of Abyssus character, and based on a couple of the new ascendancies, I figured I could make a pretty decent go of it on hardcore without really sacrificing too much of anything. So this is what the character turned out to be, a Juggernaut Marauder Reaver. Initially the concept was just to wear an Abyssus, go dual with swords, and potentially use Cyclone, and mitigate the Abyssus with some form of ascendancy. I ended up landing on a Juggernaut, which I will go over why in just a minute, and end up landing on Reeve, since I tried out every other skill and they all sucked balls, which is no real surprise or shock to anyone. Cyclone can be good. The problem is it just needs a second foil, really, and it's pretty damn hard to come by swords or decent weapons on this league. So the character is at the moment level 83, I believe, and I've now managed to work my way up to tier 9 maps pretty smoothly, pretty comfortably, without too much investment. And I will go over what the character currently has and what I was really trying to achieve with it right now. So I'll talk quite a bit about what the character is and what I set out to do and where it's kind of going. Right now it is a Marauder Juggernaut, level 83, accidentally clicked HC is the character's name if you want to look it up. I'm rocking 5500 life, and I've filled out pretty much everything I need to on the passive tree, just filling out other random things, little bits and pieces, and I'm still not too sure on where I'm going, because I could grab a whole bunch of life, I could grab some more DPS, some dual sockets, some frenzies, just certain things to fill out and decisions to make. But the character initially started out with the idea of being an Abyssus user. Hold on a second. Using an Abyssus to scale a shitload of damage because it's got massive amounts of crit multi and fizz damage. Meaning my weapon and gear doesn't have to be too good because Abyssus really breaches the gap in that sense. So I wanted to use an Abyssus and I wanted to use some swords. Those were the two prerequisites I made for myself. And my initial tree was based around basically going dual wield Cyclone. After trying out dual wield Cyclone for a while, I came to the conclusion that it's going to be pretty damn hard for me to get two good swords on hardcore, and Reeve just seems to scale better and make better use of the Abyssus at the moment, but I could still jump back into Cyclone if I play around with it, and we'll see how we go with that. To counteract the Abyssus, I had two ideas, which is essentially a Juggernaut and a Champion. And after looking at both of them, I concluded Champion's pretty good, and I really like the movement speed you get from it. So you get 8% there, and an additional, 10% there. So 18% movement speed was really tempting for the Cyclone playstyle, and then always having Fortify, and it's a buffed Fortify, is a pretty good buff towards your Abyssus counteraction. But when looking at Juggernaut, I couldn't really go past it because you still can use Fortify and keep it up as often as you want, depending on where you put it, whether you attach it to Whirling Blades or actually to your main skill. So you can still have Fortify up all the time, albeit a slightly weaker one, but then you also get Unbreakable, which is double your armor from your body, from your chest slot, which is actually quite a lot, and also gives you immune to stun. Also a few other extra armor nodes. And the other thing that really drew me towards it was 1000 extra accuracy. Now, when going for this sort of character and build, I'm going crit, I'm going Abyssus, and I'm on hardcore, which is kinda hard to get items for, especially with somewhat limited currency, and this late in the league when less people are playing. figured getting that extra 1000 accuracy was going to be very important, because this node has essentially let me not get any accuracy anywhere on my gear. So you can see my ring, no accuracy, no accuracy, no accuracy, and no accuracy. All the places where you could get it. And I'm still sitting at a 90%, 92% when I have my ice golem up. So that's just made the gearing really easy, and that was part of the attraction to Juggernaut. So on top of the fact that I get double armor, I also get all that accuracy, bit of attack speed, and eventually I will have unstoppable as well, which is a pretty nice perk for not needing to worry about temp chains or chilled ground in maps. So defensively, I currently have 52% armor, 4 endurance charges, so it brings me up to about 70%, bit under, a basalt flask, a stibnite. All in all, I'm pretty much damage reduction capped, goes up to 90%, with barely any investment. Basically just Juggernaut and having a good chest slot. And that has completely negated Abyssus. So I can attack into Reflect without losing any life. I can take damage from certain monsters without losing basically any life. Juggernaut has just made wearing an Abyssus a complete joke with my 2000 armor chest. So it's actually, yeah, just a really strong DPS option now for the build, because there's not much downside to wearing an Abyssus when you go something like a Juggernaut, and my overall spec is pretty defensive as well. Even though I've got a decent bit of damage from the tree, like those nodes there, and a fair amount of crit and all that, I still have 186% life. And you could even increase that, which I originally did, by not having like most of that wheel and just filling out your life wheel. In total, you can quite easily have 216% life, and yeah, that's pretty hardcore friendly, but I think I'm okay with my current 5.5k life. I'll end up hitting about 6k, I think, and just getting more and more damage for the clear speed and for the attack speed and all that. But beyond my chest, my gear is nothing too special. I did start out with a bit of extra currency from people because I really didn't want to start fresh on another character and league, as that is rather tedious in my opinion after already doing all that and going through all that hardship on Piranha's softcore. So with this chest though, I bought a 6-link white Gladiator plate, cost 60 chaos, and then I put about 30 rerolls into it, Aux, Scours, and Chaos. Came up with this thing, and that's about as good as I could ever hope for, which is just perfect for this build. So the chest itself gives me an immense amount of armor, 10.8k without the chest, down to 2k. So I'm getting almost all of my defense strictly from the chest, and the other bit comes from Abyssus. Now the sword I'm using right now is kind of average, but it does enough. It's like 270 Fizz DPS, and pretty worthless, but the sword market on Piranha's Hardcore is just non-existent. It's shit. I would have to craft my own to get an upgrade. My offhand is a Death's Hand. It's actually pretty shit for getting power charges, I've found, because I'm either one-shotting things or freezing them, and it's kind of just not doing anything in that circumstance. But the Unholy Might for 2 seconds is a very nice damage boost to your Fizz, which then goes into Chaos, so it's actually quite a solid DPS boost just as an offhand regardless. Now you never attack with this thing because Reeve only uses your main hand if you have an offhand that can't attack with Reeve, and Reeve cannot attack with maces. So you're only ever attacking with this, and that's just pure stat stick, which gives me a nice chunk of extra chaos. I believe it's 30% extra chaos. Besides that, just a strong Abyssus and pretty okay jewelry here or there. Bit of extra fizz is what we're looking for. Life and diamond ring rolls. Some resists, some resist life, and some resist life, and some attack speed. But yeah, overall the gear is nothing too special. The only thing of notice is the chest, which I managed to self-craft and get pretty lucky on. Yeah. Besides that, currently using 2 life flasks, a stibnite, which is pretty damn nice for the extra evasion and chance to hit it provides, or chance to miss from the enemies, a onslaught flask, and a basalt, which gives me pretty much close to armor cap, or fizz reduction cap. That's the character so far. Don't know what else there is to say about it. It's been pretty easy to build, it's been pretty easy to play and level. It's very flexible, smooth. You can play it with even other weapons if you really want. If you want to get rid of, let's say, the sword passives, you can go some other sort of weapon. Let's say you can do staff crit. That actually would be a pretty good option as well. You can't really go all the way up to daggers because that's just so much more traveling. So realistically, you're looking at swords, a Varanastra perhaps, or staves, I think, if we're going for a crit-centered build around Abyssus. And I will also mention the links for Reeve, actually. So my main links are Reeve, Melee Fizz, Multi-Strike. Those are your main three. Beyond that, I go with Increased Area. Past that, I would use probably Added Fire and then Crit Strikes. So with all that up, my crit strikes is, my critical chance is 68. Goes up to about 80 with power charges. And then I'm using Blasphemy Assassin's Mark. So that takes me up to almost 90 crit on enemy monsters. And that's pretty strong. On top of that, I'm also running Hatred. And as far as my actual DPS goes, I'm running just under 100k at the moment on the Reeve. When buffed, when unbuffed, just in town, I'm sitting at 61k. And then you got your Ancestral Protector Totem, gives you a huge attack speed boost. So we attack pretty fast, we have pretty good crit chance, and just about one-shot everything, and our defenses are good. All in all, this character is pretty solid at the moment. I'll try and keep you updated if there's any changes to it, and I'll post a passive tree for you guys to follow if that's what you're into. Seems like a pretty strong hardcore choice, and really not much different from how I would build this as a softcore character. If I wanted to use Abyssus, I really would want to pick one of the ascendancies these days that counteract its effects, such as a Juggernaut. So this was my accidentally clicked HC Juggernaut Reaver. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys next time.